Hey guys, you're in the cut with SliderCuts, and in today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to create this skin fade using no barrier lines. So no skin line, no open blade barrier, nothing. Straight fading to skin. So stay tuned and watch as I show you how to do it. And if you like what you see, please don't forget to subscribe. Let's get into the cut. All right guys, so starting off, I'm just combing out his hair. We're going to, first of all, bring down the top of his head, and then I'm going to take you into the fade and show you how to fade using no barrier lines. It's a technique I used to use when I was a younger barber, because there was a stage when I struggled fading out skin lines, and I found out this technique and used it, and it worked. Now, the only issue with this technique I would say is, if you use it too much, you can forget how to fade out a skin line, and then one day you have to do it and you don't know how to do it. So I would say use this every now and then, but don't forget, or if you haven't learned how to fade out a skin line, don't neglect learning that. Use this technique, but at the same time, make sure you are still learning how to fade out a skin line. So starting off, for the fade and the bringing down of his hair, I'll be using the Wahl Gold Cordless Magic Clip. It's a great all-round clipper. So if you need a clipper that's good for loads of different things, then I'd recommend you using the Magic Clip, the gold one. So when you're cutting children, I always say, just keep hold of them somehow, because you may do this, and if I do that, he's gonna drop his head down. So if you want him to stay in a certain place, even with adults at times, just one finger on his forehead, and I'm holding it. So I'm using the number 4, close number 4 with the grain. Now, this tutorial is all about fading with no barrier lines, but I'll tell you something, it's important to assess someone's hair. Quick 30 seconds of their hair. Then you can see things like, okay, it might be lighter here because his hair is dyed at the front. And because it's the summer and he's been out playing, I guess in the sun all day, his hair has been dyed. So here's more browny, here's even lighter, almost like browny, blondie type thing. So when I'm cutting his hair, I'm gonna have that in mind. So there'll be certain areas I might leave heavier and so on, just because of that. And that just comes from assessing someone's hair, because looking around at it, just, you know, as I said, you can take 30 seconds just to look at it. So I did a number 4 on his head, and the client said he wants to bring it down to a number 3. So we're bringing it down to a number 3. Now I brought his head down to the number 3. Now we're gonna get into the part that you guys are here for, the fade with no barrier lines. So first of all, we need to always make sure that this area blends in smooth. So with a number 2, close number 2, on the side, I did a number 3 on top. On the side area here, I'm just flattening this area. Then I want to drop down to the closed 1.5. And I'm just flattening this area here. Then the number 1, close number 1, and I'm just flattening this area here. But what I haven't shown you properly, and you may not be able to see because it's so minute, is with the number 2 I was there, with the 1.5 I was in basically the same area, but with the 1 I dropped down slightly lower, because I don't want to put a dent there and make all of that flat. So I dropped down slightly lower here and made this the number 1. Spend all of about 10 seconds doing this. Don't spend long. Let me explain to you what I'm going to be doing before I do it, so even when I'm explaining while I'm doing it, you can also get a better understanding. So I'm fading with no barrier lines, but I'm gonna fade it to skin. So ultimately, what I'm going to be doing is going from here, 1 level, call it a 1.5, then number 1. Then if I was to use a 0.5 gauge, which I probably won't use, but if I use a 0.5 gauge, 0.5, then the open blade, then I'm gonna drop the lever down gradually, till it's at skin. Now, what I'm gonna be doing every time I'm fading, or every time I'm dropping down the level, is going up and flicking out, going up and flicking out. Doing this fade can be tricky because the fade can look wonky and uneven. So you've got to really understand and visualize what were you doing on both sides. So on the first side, if I bring the fade to here and it ends here, I need to make sure that on the other side it ends in the same place and a similar place around the back. So just caution for when you're doing this fade. So combing it out, close 1.5. I'm just gonna, invisible line there, gonna go up to it and flick out. It's not really taking off anything, to be very honest. It's just scratching the surface. All good. I'm gonna drop down to the number 1. Now I flattened the area, which I've already done from before, but I'm just going over it again to do that. And now I'm gonna go up to there with my 1.5, here with my number 1, go up to it and flick out. Now just stay with me guys, and you're gonna see, because this part here, I'm gonna do all in one take. There'll be no edits, so you can see how it fades out. So just go up to that area and flick out, combing it out, flick out, flick out, flick out. Take that number 1 off, open blade. I'm gonna flatten this area, the area which I'm gonna be fading. So the number 1 was there, so just under where I was fading, where I went up to with the number 1, I'm just gonna flatten it with the open blade. And now, the number 1's there, I'm gonna come to here with the open blade. So go up to it with the open blade and flick out. It's very important that when you're fading, you're always flicking out. Comb it out, always flicking out. So now, I close the lever a little bit. I was going up to there with the open blade. So now I'm gonna go slightly underneath that place, and where I've closed it a little bit, go from the bottom up and flick out. Always flick out. Close the lever a little bit more. Drop down a little bit lower, and then come from underneath and flick out. Now I'm gonna drop down. What you're gonna notice is in this area which I'm dropping down, we're talking about is that much space. So when I'm dropping down, I'm going from there, open blade, to there, slightly lower. I'm closing the lever a little bit more. Close the lever a little bit more, go to there. Close the lever, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. Apologies, guys. Close the lever a little bit more, and I'm there. So it's so minute, it's such a small space. Close the lever a little bit more. So look, now I've closed it and it's fully skinned. So I'm gonna close it fully, and then I'm just gonna open it ever so slightly, and I'm gonna go up and flick out. Now, where I'm at right now, this is almost skin. This is almost skin, right? To some people, this is skin and it looks like skin. Then I'm gonna close the lever fully. Now be gentle guys. Make sure this is flat on the head, and then just skin out the bottom. Now what I'm gonna do here is get my trimmer, which is the Wahl black cordless detailer, to show you how skinny it is at the bottom. I'm just gonna skin this area. But even when I'm skinning this area, look what I'm doing. I'm flicking out still. So I'm not doing this, stop, 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 because I don't wanna create any line there. I'm flicking it out.
Oh, is it?
So this area is skin. Right now we have a skin fade, and that's done with no barrier lines. So as you saw, with no edits, I took you through how to do a skin fade with no barrier lines. Now the important thing about doing that is just understanding that you are going down in levels. So start in one place, 1.5. Drop down a little bit lower, go to the number 1. Drop down a little bit lower, go to the open blade. But if you start doing it, what I'll tell you to do is go from the 1.5 to the number 1 to the 0.5 gauge, which I didn't use, then the open blade, then close the lever a little bit, close it a little bit more till you're down at skin. So the whole thing is you're just doing a fade going from one level and dropping down, and you're fading it out. And that's how you actually fade with no barrier lines. To be honest, sometimes fading this way makes it easier. And sometimes when you're cutting, especially children, you might be like, I need to get through this haircut a lot quicker, and I don't want to put any lines in there because the child you may be cutting may be moving around and so on. So you're like, you know what? What's the quick method to do so I don't have to put a skin line in and it's kind of like just fade it out quickly. So this is a good method to learn. Now, just like any other fade, you can look at the fade and some of you may be saying, yo, I can see that it's heavier there, or that's not blended the best. Like looking at there, I know, like every fade I teach you, I'm gonna go over that in the refining stages. I'm just gonna get through the whole hair, come back at the end, maybe shape them up first, then come back at the end, and then make hair blend a lot smoother. It'll be a lot easier when you do it in refining. Now guys, just like the side, I'm gonna do exactly the same thing on the back and on the other side. I'm not gonna really talk through what I'm doing because I've already spoken through this area here already. But if you feel like you don't fully understand, rewind the video and listen to it again. The only thing I'm gonna say to you is, to make sure you get a level, is to set that invisible line off the cuff. So right now, what I'm doing with the 1.5 is, I'm placing where the fade is going to start. So all around, I've already started the fade. So now I flatten this area, then I use the number 1. This is the one thing I think you can do is I'm prepping the fade and I'm setting, you could say, some unofficial guidelines, even though this is a fade with no guidelines, but I'm setting some unofficial guidelines to say, okay, cool, that is going all the way around kind of evenly to match up. All right, enough of the talking. Let's fade. What I'm gonna do is just shape his hair. And what I mean by shaping his hair is a lot of haircuts, especially when people have a lot more volume on the top of their hair, right? You can't just cut it down with the number 3 and say it's done. You have to now shape it. Look at their hair and say, okay, what shape am I going for? Am I going for like a box top? Is it a rounded top? What style are they gonna wear it in? Is it gonna be neat afro? Is it going to be curl kinged where, you know, it's twisted? Understand what style they're going for and then shape it into that shape. But just cutting it down will not give it that shape. You're going to have to shape it. So I've done a number 3, but here it's still heavy on the edges. So open 2.5, and I'm just skimming these edges because I know what type of shape I'm going for. Like, it's not gonna be a box top. We're gonna curl the hair afterwards as well. So we want it kind of like slightly rounded. So open 2, and I'm just skimming these edges here, and I'm taking a lot of the weight off here. But I know this is a video all about fading with no barrier lines, which I've done already and I've shown you already, but let's give you some extra tips while we're here. Call this the bonus. This is the open 1.5, so I'm just taking the weight out of this area so the blend is a lot smoother. This is really stuff you can do in refining, but I'm just gonna spend like, you know, a couple seconds just doing this and then shape him up and then refine. But before I go into the shape up and before I curl Kingy's hair, I wanna make sure I've got it in the right shape. And as you can see, when you see me doing this, you'll notice that me even taking the weight, even though I'm shaping it, but me just taking the weight off it, you'll see that the fade is now even looking smoother. So some of the things I said I wanted to do later on in refining, me just taking some weight off here and creating the shape that I want, the fade looks a lot better, cleaner, smoother. So this is kind of, you could say, partially refining as well, but my focus here was creating the right shape. So now guys, I'm getting into this shape up. Now, with the shape up, what I'm gonna do first is prep the front, which is me tapering the front of his hair. Now I'm gonna do a low taper. I'm just gonna reduce it ever so slightly because it'll make the shape up hold better and it'll give the shape that I actually like to the hair as well. But mainly it's to do with the shape up, catching that line better. So I'm just gonna bring it down ever so slightly with the 2, but I'm gonna start off with the open 2. Then if I feel like it needs to come down any lower, then I'll drop it down to the closed 2. And if I wanna bring it down even further, at that point there, I'll bring it down to a open 1.5 or closed 1.5. So we did a number 3 all around his hair. So on the front now, I'm just gonna do an open 2, going with the grain, just flattening that area. Now look at it and say, okay, I wanna bring it down a little bit lower, so I'm gonna close the lever and just flatten this area. Now, as I said to you before, when you look at his hair, like here has been dyed by the sun, so his hair is lighter there. So I'm not gonna touch this area because if I touch this area, what will happen then is this area will then look lower than the rest of the area. And the rest of the area. This area will then look lower than the rest of his hair. So when you're cutting, make sure you're just not cutting. You've got to kind of like look and watch out for these things there because these are the mistakes that happen. You cut someone's hair and then it's like, oh, why does that look like a ball patch? Or why does that look a lot lower? Because you need to look, that area is lighter than the rest of there. So if I'm gonna cut, I need to make sure I cut around it. So I get to this area there and I kind of leave it, move around it. Let's have a come here, look. I kind of move around it. Then if I want to take it down later, what I'll do is with the scissors or just with the open blade, I'll just skim it. But we're talking about the front of the shape up. I'm just flattening the front of his hair. I think I'm going to bring it down even lower slightly maybe, or maybe I might shape it up first. Then if I think it needs to come down lower, then I'll use the open 2. So I'm just using my hand. If you're wondering why my hand's here, I am holding his head in place, because when you do that, it pushes his head down. So I'm just holding his head in place. For those who may be thinking, oh, I thought you said don't touch that area. I'm not. Look, that's the area. I'm underneath it, flattening around it and cutting around it. So now with the area open 1, I'm just flattening around where I'm going to be shaping up on both sides. And let's get into the shape up. For the shape up, I'm going to be using the Wahl A-Lign. Now, in my opinion, I said this before and I say it again, this is the best trimmer for children and anybody with sensitive skin, because it's powerful, it's soft, and it cuts so clean. So if you're cutting children or anybody with sensitive skin, their Wahl A-Lign is the trimmer for you. And another good reason why these trimmers are so good is because of the small blade, because most children have small foreheads. So when I use the normal blade, I'll be here and it's like, oh, you're poking at their eyebrow. So you have to start leaning like that to touch the top part, but not touch the eyebrow. It's difficult. But these trimmers here are just great. I feel like they made them for children. Anyway, with the sideline. Well, this haircut tutorial is not to do with the shape up. So I'm just gonna go through the shape up, guys. I may talk about it, I may not, we'll see. But like all shape ups, I start with a sideline, press down and pull away from the hairline and go up in a straight line to create a straight line on the side. Then on the front, you go from the middle, press down, pull away from the hairline. Now where you started in the middle, that's your point of reference. So that now you press down and pull away and you go across in a straight line, following that initial point from where you started. So look, press down, pull away. Now, the front of his hair is a lot lighter right now because it's been dyed by the sun. You know, he's had a great summer because he's been out playing the whole time. So the sun has dyed his hair. So you got to be a bit more careful to make sure you catch it properly and that you can see it and that you don't kind of like do things like cut back there to where the densest part is. Like, no, don't do that. Just still keep it like edge it. And the advice I always give people as well when it comes to shape up, especially when someone's hair is lighter on the front, is where you can't see the hair, start off. So start off there if you're a beginner and do that. And if nothing's cut, then go back a little bit, then back a little bit, then back a little bit till you're actually cutting hair. Because what you'll find is a lot of times is you end up doing it, right? And then where you didn't think the hair was, you catch it and you're like, ooh. And I've had that before in my life where I'm like, ooh, if I'd have gone to where I think it should have been in the first time, I'd have been like back there. Not now, I'm a lot better with these things and my vision catches these things a lot better. But even now, sometimes if you don't know what you're doing, just start low and keep going back until you're catching some hair. I'm gonna do the other side and then I'll come back to doing a bit of refining on the hair here. And then we'll twist his hair up and we'll call it a wrap. So that's enough on the shape up right now. What I'm gonna do now is scissor it a little bit, twist his hair, curl it up, go over the fade, and then once I do that, I will then probably have to go over the shape up again. It's a very important thing, guys. I see people do this all the time. Whenever you style someone's hair, like twist it, make sure to go over the haircut again, because now you're cutting it into the style that that client's gonna be wearing it in. So often people just be like, okay, I've twisted it and they let them go. But I'm looking at the shape up and for some reason, for whatever reason, the shape up now looks off. When you didn't curl it beforehand, it looked okay, but now with the curl, it looks off. Or the fade now looks like it's got lines in it because of the way the hair's been styled. So it's important to run over the hair after you've styled it. So this is just a bit of scissor work and just getting it into the shape, to sit in the shape that I want it to be in. You can also use the clippers for this and I could freehand it, but I'm using scissors. I think for me, scissors are, how can I say, less harsh. I find when I use the clippers, it's just a lot more harsh. So, and I can't tell you or explain the science behind it, to be very honest, but when I use the scissors, it's just kind of like, it's softer. Right now I want more of a softer look than kind of like a sharp, clean, like rounded look. So I just find that using the scissors produces this look better. Sometimes I want the sharper look, using the clipper would be better. So, and as I said, I can't really tell you the science behind it exactly, but I know the results of using both. Many people always ask me, oh, what's that you're putting on his hair or putting on client's hair? They think it's something special. It's not, it's just water. The curl sponge, simply, it's a sponge with holes in it. You sit it in the client's hair, twist in the same direction, then keep moving to make sure that you're twisting all the hair. But the important thing to make sure in doing this is always go in the same direction that you started in. If you're going anti-clockwise, go anti-clockwise the whole time. If you're going clockwise, go clockwise the whole time. And simply sit it in the hair, twist, move to the next area. Place it into the hair, twist, move. Twist, move. You don't have to be tough with it, just very light, because the sponge will do all the work. I see some people being like this, like trying to get the curl out. You don't need to do all of that. Just light twists and it will twist. This is the style that it produces. If you look at his hair, twisted all around, twisted natural style. All I use was water and a sponge. So now it is just the final stage. It's curled, it's in the style. Now I'm gonna look at it and go over it to make sure the fade looks good in this style. And this is what I say a lot of barbers do. They just twist it and walk out. Now I'm not saying it looks bad. It doesn't actually look bad. But when I look at it, I feel like this could be slightly smoother. Now it's sitting in the curls. So combing it out, then I'm gonna run over the clippers with it just to make it a little bit smoother. Look at anything that needs to be improved in the haircut, the shape up, the fade, whatever it is. Because when I look at this side here, what's funny is now it's sitting in this style. That looks very blotchy. That looks very heavy. That needs to be like smoothened out. And this is what refining is all about. So I'm just running over it. This is just an open one, and I'm just smoothing it over this area to reduce the heaviness here and to make this fade a lot smoother here. But I'm not gonna focus too much time on this, guys, because this is just about how to fade with no barrier lines. And as you can see, this fade was done with no barrier lines, straight to skin. And if you watch all my videos, guys, I talk more about refining and what you need to do in refining stages. So if you want to learn about refining, click on any one of my other videos. I'm always touching and talking about those things there. But those things, they're talking about that. So there you have it, guys. A skin fade using no barrier lines whatsoever. I hope this video has been helpful for you. If it has, then please let me know in the comments. And if there's any videos you want me to do, then please let me know and I'll do my best to get in around to it. You've been in the cut with SliderCuts. Peace.